Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with a full review of the Orei HD12-EX132-K HDMI splitter and extender kit. This product was designed to make it incredibly easy for you to share all of your HDMI media content with two separate remote locations up to 132 feet away from the primary location over a single Cat6 or Cat7 LAN cable. The product fully supports 1080p high-definition content and is plug-and-play compatible with most modern media devices. It even provides remote control capabilities from each of your remote locations over the content you're watching through the use of infrared blaster kits. Now, as part of this review, I'd like to start with an unboxing of the product just to show you everything that's included with the kit. I'll also take a closer look at the transmitter and the receiver modules. I'll explain the connections and indicators so you understand exactly how to use the product, and then I'll come back and point out a few things that I really like about this kit that you can use to compare it to other products you may be considering. So let's get started with the unboxing. When you first open up the box, you'll find the transmitter module and two identical receiver modules, and each of these come with power supplies. The receiver modules have a 5-volt DC 1-amp power supply. You'll plug this into any standard wall outlet. The other end of the cable has a barrel connection on it which plugs into the back of the module and provides all the power you'll need for operation. The transmitter module has a little larger power supply. It's a 5-volt 2.5 amp, and again, plug it into a wall outlet, plug this into the back of the unit. You'll also find brackets included that you can use to mount the modules up off the ground and out of the way. Also included is infrared blaster receivers and transmitters. With the receiver units, you'll find one that's labeled IR in, which is the receiver unit, and that's used at the remote locations to collect up the remote control signals and then send those digitally back over the LAN connection to the primary location where they're broadcast from this infrared out. So it's important you plug the right infrared blaster into the right module for proper operation, but you've got one for each of the remote locations and one for the transmitter. You'll also find sticky pads that you can use to attach those to your media equipment. Finally, there's a warranty card included as well as a full instruction manual that can tell you everything you need to know about this solution. There are connection diagrams, specifications, and other important details in that manual that you'll need to review in order to use this correctly. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at the modules, and then I'll remind you of a few things that I really like about this product that you can use to compare it to others. Inside the kit, you'll find a sender module and two identical receiver modules. All three of these feature full metal enclosures, which make them incredibly durable, and it really helps to minimize outside interference from causing any issues with the sensitive electronics inside. This will be located at your primary site, wherever the media content is you'd like to share with the two remote locations, and these are located at those remote locations. Now let's start with the sender module. On the front, starting on the right, you'll find a link light right here. The minute you add power to this module, it immediately starts an internal power on self-test where it's checking all the electronics just to make sure everything's working okay. Once it passes that test, this link light will come on red. Now, once you make a connection between the transmitter and one of the receiver modules with a LAN cable, that connection is checked. Once it's validated, that light will turn blue and it'll blink during operation. To the right of that is a reset button that can be used to reset the module if needed, and to do that you'll hold it in for a few seconds to force that reset. On either side of this module are mounting holes you can use with the included bracketing kit to mount this up off the ground and out of the way. On the rear of the units where you'll make all your connections, starting on the left you'll find a DC input port. That's used with the larger power supply. You'll simply plug that into the wall. The other end of the cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs in right there. To the right of that is a bank of EDID switches, and those are explained in the manual, but essentially they allow you to adjust the frame rate and resolution of your media content to match the output of your monitors. So again, read through the manual, make sure you set those correctly. To the right of that is a 3.5mm port that's labeled IR out, and that's used with the blaster kit. You'll want to make sure you plug the module in that's also labeled IR out for proper operation. To the right of that is a full-sized HDMI port labeled input. This connects to whatever media device you'd like to share the content from with your two remote locations. Standard HDMI connection there. This module also provides local loopback functionality, so this next HDMI port right here is used to enjoy the content here while you're sharing it with those remote locations. And to do that, you'll connect up an HDMI cable from this port to a local monitor. And that's a real advantage of this module, is the fact that it allows you to enjoy the content here while you're simultaneously sharing it with those remote locations. Finally, to the right of that are two LAN ports right there, port 1 and port 2. And this is where one end of the cable between this primary site and the secondary site connects. Again, a Cat6 or a Cat7 cable. Plug it in here, plug the other end into the remote receiver at that secondary location. And you have two remote locations you can support with this product. All right, now we'll take a look at the receiver modules, and again, they're identical. On either side, you'll find mounting holes that can be used with the bracketing kit to mount these up off the ground. On the one end, you'll find a DC power port on the left. Again, you'll use the smaller power supply at that remote location, plug it into a wall outlet, barrel connector plugs in there. To the right of that is an HDMI port, and that connects to the monitor at that remote location where you'd like to enjoy the content. Standard HDMI port, standard cable. To the right of that is another 3.5mm port that's used with the remote receiver at that remote location from the IR blaster kit. Just plug it in there, and again, make sure it says IR in. On the other end, you'll find a length adjustment. Now, this module allows you to attenuate the signal coming to this module because you may have a module that's close to the transmitter and one that's very far away, so you can tap this to adjust the amount of signal that actually arrives here at the receiver. To the right of that is another LAN port. That's where the other end of the cable from the transmitter plugs in, and you'll just use a Cat6 or Cat7 cable between them. To the right of that is a link light, and that indicates that you've got data flowing across that LAN cable. Finally, to the right of that is a grounding lug. That grounding lug allows you to ground this cabinet if needed at that remote location. And that's pretty much it for the sender and receiver modules. They're pretty straightforward and really easy to use. I hope that closer look was helpful. Now here are a few really important things to keep in mind when you're comparing the Orei HD12-EX132-K HDMI splitter and extender kit with other products you may be considering. The first has to do with the distance the product supports between your primary and secondary locations. A lot of kits on the market limit that distance to maybe 50 feet or 75 feet. This product fully supports up to 132 feet of distance between the primary transmitter and both of your remote locations, which provides a lot of flexibility for you to put those secondary locations quite a ways away from your primary location. The other important thing to note is that both of the receivers have an adjustment on them for the length of distance away. And that's important because if it was just blasting that audio and video media content out to the remote locations, you might have one that's close to it and one that's really far away from it. And if you didn't have a way to adjust that attenuation, you would overrun that receiver and you may cause issues with the audio and the video that's being displayed at that location. So with this one, there's a button on the unit where you can attenuate that signal and make that perfect adjustment for whatever distance away from the primary site that remote location is. Another important difference is the infrared blaster kits, which provide complete control of the content from those remote locations. You've got a receiver that plugs into the receiver unit and a transmitter that plugs into the transmitter, and the receiver essentially collects up the remote control signals from your remote control at that remote location and sends those back digitally over the same LAN cable to the primary location where they're rebroadcast so you can control the content. If you don't have an infrared blaster kit as part of your solution, you have zero control over how that media content is displayed. So you'll essentially start it here, and if you're at home, you'll have to run upstairs to the bedroom just to watch that content start to finish. Another key difference, and it's kind of a small one, but it's important, is the fact that the entire kit uses metal cabinets. A lot of kits on the market are using high impact plastic, and the challenge there is that you can get a lot of outside interference that can really cause issues with the sensitive electronics inside. The fact that this kit uses an all metal enclosure means that you've got radiation protection from signals outside the unit, causing any issues with the sensitive audio and video signals you're sending to those remote locations. Another key difference is the fact that everything you need to get started is included with the kit, so with a few simple connections, you can be up and running in no time. A lot of other kits on the market may not include everything you need, and then you've got to add additional things to get that kit up and running. So I think it's a very complete kit. I also like the fact that it combines an HDMI splitter with an extender. Other kits on the market may just split the signal into two duplicate signals that you can send to local monitors. This one not only splits the signal, giving me identical video and audio to those two monitors, but it allows me to extend those monitors out up to 132 feet. So I think it's an incredibly versatile kit. It's got EDID control on the back, so you can adjust the frame rate and resolution of your media content for both locations. Again, you've got adjustments for attenuation of the signal between the sites. They've really thought of everything in the kit. So I hope you found this helpful. I've enjoyed talking about it. And until next time, as always, stay nerdy.